You want to call this a celebrity match? You want to pretend WrestleMania is a circus every time a social media star laces up boots? Fine. Let's call it what it was, one of the most controversial, adrenaline-fueled, headline-grabbing, boundary-smashing matches in modern WrestleMania history. Seth freaking Rollins vs. Logan Paul, WrestleMania 39 Saturday. And if you watched it and walked away thinking it was all flash and no substance, then you missed what made it a landmark match. If you hated it, you need to explain why. If you loved it, prove it. Drop your take in the comments right now. Did this match help or hurt wrestling's credibility? Be blunt. Tell us why. Set the scene. Intensity building. It was a crisp April night. The stage lights at the stadium. Millions tuned in across the globe, and the air was thick with equal parts excitement, skepticism, and straight-up curiosity. Seth Rollins, the architect, the perfectionist, the man who carried main event credibility for over a decade, stepped into the ring with an opponent whose name alone had the power to pull eyeballs from outside the wrestling world, Logan Paul, the internet's decathlete of controversy. This wasn't just a match, it was a cultural collision, and inside those ropes, expectations were a loaded gun. Why this fight mattered: stakes and legacy. Understand the stakes. For Seth Rollins, this was more than a match, it was a war for reputation. The visionary had to prove that WWE soul, its in-ring ethos, could survive and even flourish when the bright lights shone on a crossover opponent. For Logan Paul, it was an audition for legitimacy, not just the millisecond of viral fame, but bona fide acceptance from the most stone-hearted parts of the wrestling fanbase. Win, and you're more than a flash in a timeline. Lose, and you're fodder for late-night comedians and dismissive takes. But stacked on top of that was the hidden currency of WrestleMania itself, legacy. WrestleMania doesn't give second chances. It elevates or it erases. That was the tension. You could feel it in every bump, every near fall, every chant rising from the crowd. Are they giving a career moment to a YouTuber, or is the man in the corner about to school a celebrity in front of the world? Opening sequences, ringside psychology and psychology of entrances. The bell rang and the match began like a chess game disguised as war. Rollins, mastery personified, started methodical testing, probing, angling. Logan answered with raw, explosive power, catching Rollins with sudden, athletic strikes. Don't mistake Logan's theatrics for lack of preparation. He'd trained, he'd studied moves, he'd conditioned, and he brought an unpredictability that actually worked as a weapon. Here's a trivial question for you: where were you when Rollins hit that first buckle bomb? Drop the timestamp in the comments. We saw the psychology play out. Rollins aimed to ground Logan early, to take the edge off the big showman. Logan's strategy was simpler: be larger than life, use power spots to create doubt, and capitalize on sloppy moments. The crowd bought into both scripts because both men committed to their roles. That's where the match earned its oxygen commitment. The turning points, momentum shifts explained. Every great match lives and dies by its turning points. Here, the first shift came when Logan caught Rollins with a clothesline that wasn't supposed to be textbook. It was a jolt. The crowd went from polite to electric. Now Logan smelled it, the palpable possibility that he could do real damage to a top-tier star. Seth regrouped, relentless and surgical. He traded velocity for technique, hit a heater of a running knee, and then almost ended things with a superkick out of nowhere. The near fall was 2.5. The stadium exhaled and then screamed. Question for the comments: which near fall made you think the match would end? Tell us which moment and why. Then, the middle stretch, a sequence of countermaneuvers that read like an advanced calculus problem. Logan escaped a stomp into a flip out of the corner. Seth countered with a judo-style takedown that led into a series of submissions and holds. The contrast was beautiful: Logan's raw athleticism versus Rollins' wrestling IQ. What's amazing in hindsight is how those contrasts told a story beyond the immediate scoreboard. Logan was not merely a muscle-bound punching bag, he was a living, evolving opponent. The shock moments, injury scares, risky spots, and the crowd's role. And then there were the shock moments, the things that raise the hairs on your neck. A missed springboard, a wipeout on the announce table, and that split second where you could swear the stadium collectively held its breath. There were risks that could have ended entire careers, and that's why fans argue about this match. One side says reckless, the other says authentic danger. I want to know, do you think those dangerous spots were necessary to make the match memorable? Tell us necessary or unnecessary in the comments. One image that burned into viewers' minds: Seth landing a stomp through the announce table, only for Logan to turn it into a spectacle-level moment, landing on his feet like he was Superman. That's practice and nuts and bolts polish, and the crowd loved the chaos. But the real sting was the look on Rollins' face as he realized this opponent would not be dismissed. The wrestling craft, move-by-move breakdown of key sequences. Let's break down the greatest stretch in the match, the 5-minute sequence that truly made it WrestleMania-level storytelling. First, Rollins attempted to dismantle Logan's base with a barrage of arm bars and targeting the left leg. Purpose was clear: isolate the limb, set up the pedigree of Seth's own finish strings. Logan answered with a desperation reversal, converting a stomp into a suplex that nearly changed the equation. Rollins responded with a springboard knee, followed by a tornado DDT that felt like the match's high-water mark. Now identify this: when Rollins tried for a Falcon Arrow, Logan escaped only to go for an impromptu frog splash that barely connected. That near miss was everything. It turned the audience into stakeholders in both men's fates. Wrestling, at its best, makes spectators feel that each strike and each breath could swing the outcome, and in this match, they did. A trivial question: which sequence would you rewatch on loop? Name the minute mark. The psychology of the finish, why the ending mattered. Now the finish. I'm not here to be coy, the ending split opinions, and that's good. Rollins hit his signature move, then the buckshot knee that stole the match. But the booking of the final moments did more than announce a winner. It communicated intention. Rollins walking away with the victory was WWE saying, credibility matters. But Logan's breakout moment, the way he survived and created those moments of doubt, was WWE acknowledging the gravity of crossover attention. It was a tightrope. You can argue it was safe, or you can argue it preserved the dignity of the wrestling product while still letting a mainstream star look huge. So which is it, from your seat? Did the finish protect WWE sanctity or betray it? Vote in the comments. Emotional beats and crowd responses. Why fans erupted. Listen to the crowd. Every time Rollins landed a high-impact move, the arena screamed like it was witnessing an execution. Every time Logan landed a big spot, social feeds combusted. The emotional beats were calibrated to make the stadium a third participant. You could see it on Rollins' face, a man who's seen it all suddenly forced to prove something he thought he didn't have to prove anymore. You could also see it on Logan's face, an odd mix of nervous joy and feral hunger. Here's the trivia angle: which chant or fan reaction made the hair on your neck stand up tight? The word or chant you remember most vividly. Controversy and criticism, unpacking the haters and the defenders. We can't talk about this match without acknowledging the crusade of criticism. Critics called it a publicity stunt. Armchair purists listed reasons why celebrity matches dilute the art. But the defense rests on a different axis. Matches are judged by how they make people feel and how they move the needle. This match moved millions to talk, to debate, to heat up timelines and podcasts. That counts for something. Here's a direct question: if WWE brought in another top-tier non-wrestler for WrestleMania, should they yes or no? Tell us and say why. From a wrestling purist perspective, this match was a gamble. From a business perspective, it was a coup. From an artistic perspective, it was a messy master stroke. Pick the lens you view it through and tell us your verdict in 3 words. Behind the scenes insight: training, preparation, and chemistry. Insider whispers after the show painted a revealing picture: Logan Paul trained like a madman. He put time into ring psychology, took bumps, and worked on subtle selling, the small grimaces and the delayed reactions that sell a move's impact. Rollins, known for building chemistry quickly, didn't patronize Logan. He pushed him, and in doing so, he elevated his own performance. A lot of the crowd's buy-in came from seeing both men sweat. This was not an exhibition, and that's crucial. The reality is that level of commitment is contagious. When one competitor gives 100% and the other answers, a third force arises: belief. And belief is what separates forgettable matches from marathon conversations. Trivial question: which training rumor surprised you the most? Share it and let's fact check in the replies. The athleticism specific sequences that showcased peak physicality. Let's call out the athleticism. Rollins' springboard, stutter steps, and nimble landings were textbook. Logan's athletic upside the flips, the raw strength, the uncanny ability to absorb punishment and still look dangerous was undeniable. The combo of Rollins' ring IQ and Logan's physical bravery produced moments of genuine awe: a flip reversal that left the crowd stunned, a high-risk maneuver that turned into a momentum-swinging near fall. What was the athletic highlight for you? Be precise: minute mark or move name. I'll compile the most shared responses and pin them to the top. The character work: how both men told a story. Storytelling in wrestling happens 2 ways: inside the ring through moves and outside of it through aura. Rollins brought the veteran resentment: the I'll show you how it's done grit. Logan played the cocky outsider who refuses to be patronized. But mid-match, that cockiness eroded into desperation, and desperation is an excellent character trait in combat. The crowd saw the layers: a polished veteran trying to teach, a flashy outsider trying to survive, and 2 competitors having a match that transcended the celebrity tag. Question: was Logan's in-ring character sympathetic by the end? Yes or no? Tell us and explain in one sentence. Impact on future booking: how this match changed the landscape. We need to talk about consequences. After WrestleMania 39, WWE's landscape shifted. Other crossover opportunities looked more feasible. The match indicated that with solid preparation, crossover bouts can be both drawing magnets and wrestling satisfying. But it also raised a cautionary flag: there is a limit to how many insiders will accept this before the company's credibility plate starts wobbling. So here's a call to action. Should WWE use crossover stars sparingly or more often? Say sparingly or often in the comments and explain your reasoning. Fan reactions and social media fallout: micro and macro effects. Within minutes, the clip circulated highlights, reactions, hot takes, and the debate ricocheted across forums and feeds. Some fans turned on the company, others defended it. The micro effects: YouTube channels blowing up, memes proliferating translated into macro business value. Conversation is currency. Whether you loved or hated the bout, you probably talked about it to someone who doesn't normally watch wrestling. That's not nothing. What did you tell a non-wrestling friend about this match? Drop the one-sentence pitch you used. Legacy verdict: where this match sits historically. Now, let's be brutally honest. Is this match a classic? If you measure classics by time-tested emotional resonance, possibly not yet. If you measure classics by cultural imprint and the power to generate debate, it already is. Seth Rollins added another notch to his career. Logan Paul took a step toward athletic legitimacy. But the long-term verdict will come from how both men continued afterward. Whether Logan transitioned into an earnest wrestling presence, whether Rollins used the moment to reassert dominance. As at this moment, the match sits in wrestling history as polarizing and unforgettable. Vote in the comments. Will history regard this as a classic? Yes, no, or debatable? Pick one and tell us why. Technical critique: sound, pacing, and production. A quick, unsparing critique. Production values were top tier. The camera work captured the theatrics, but occasionally it interfered with the in-ring magic, cutting away at high-stakes moments. Pacing was mostly effective, though a few dead spots in the middle could have been tightened. Still, the showmanship and the sheer audibility of the crowd often made those small issues irrelevant. Wrestling is an oral sport as much as a visual one. When the fans are loud, the production issues fade. Tell me, what production element would you fix if you were directing the replay camera, ring lighting, or commentator calls? Choose one. Why this match matters to the future of wrestling. Bottom line, this match mattered because it forced the wrestling world to answer a question it often avoids: can wrestling adapt without losing its soul? Rollins and Logan gave an answer: messy, complicated, full of friction, but real. The outcome suggested a path where crossover stars can be woven into the tapestry without ripping holes in it, provided they respect the rules of storytelling and the performers put in the work. If you could book a rematch, who should win the second time? Vote Rollins or Logan and lay out one stipulation to make it must-see. Closing with a provocation. So now I put it to you, Wrestling Zone 1, were you influenced by the spectacle or unimpressed by the crossover? Did Rollins protect the business or did WWE cheapen WrestleMania? Were the bumps too dangerous or gloriously committed? Your comments shape the argument and we want them brutal, honest, and sharp. Trivial final question: if you could change one call by the referee in that match, which would it be and why? Leave your choice and your reason. The most thought-provoking answer gets pinned. Direct engagement CTA. Before you go, do this: type Rollins or Logan to stake your claim, then write one line, only one, explaining your stance. Keep it savage, keep it honest. If you watched the full match, tell us the exact minute where your emotions flipped the hardest. If you didn't watch the full match, tell us why you turned it off. We'll read every comment and highlight the best takes in our next breakdown video. End with a promise of deeper analysis. We're not done. In the next Wrestling Zone 1 deep dive, we'll analyze the biomechanics of that springboard knee, compare Logan's evolution to other crossover talents, and break down whether this match will age like a fine wine or curdle into regret. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell if you want that follow-up, and make sure you argue your position in the comments now, because we will use your takes. Tell us one thing you want included in that follow-up. The best suggestions will be credited on air. Now jump into the comments. Be loud, be precise, be fierce. WrestleMania 39's Saturday match didn't end when the ref raised a hand. It started a conversation that we're still in the middle of. State your case. Final engagement triggers short, sharp prompts to drive comments and shares. Comment: did this match help or hurt wrestling's credibility? Explain in 2 sentences. Quick vote: classic or overrated? Choose one. Fan moment: what minute mark did you rewatch first? Drop the timestamp. Go. Argue. Share. And don't hold back. This was a match that demanded opinions, and we want yours.